Hello all. Today I'm with you another lesson of First Flight book that is Nelson Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom. We all know that a famous quote of Nelson Mandela: education is a weapon which changed the world. And he literally proved that also. He was such a great person. As you know, Nelson Mandela is from South Africa. South Africa is a country which located in African continent. It is in the southern part of Africa. And he fought a lot against all the racials. Racials means here regarding the white people to black people. The white people, they are not ready to touch the black people, as well as they are not ready to associate with the black people. This Nelson Mandela, when he saw this, on that time he thought that I have to abolish this type of a rule. So nearly, um, he spent his life 95 years. In that, 27 years he was in a prison. So his time was 1918 to 2013. Just imagine the person who stayed 27 years in a cell as a prison for the sake of freedom. Freedom is lovable by everyone. He said nearly 3 centuries the South Africans, the black people under the rule of white people, they had faced a lot of discrimination by their color. So that black people almost they surrendered themselves to the white. They took all from the black. Nelson Mandela, who had changed a lot in South Africa, he had took into one term that is apartheid. Apartheid it means already I told that's separating the people by their color, races, etc. There was one person who against of that is anti-apartheid. That we have to learn in Nelson Mandela. All you know about that, this is a part of the autobiography of Nelson Mandela. It's a small element taken by the autobiography of Nelson Mandela. Yes, so what is the difference between the biography and autobiography? Biography it means it tells about the person who is to express his views on another person's life. That's a biography. Autobiography it means he used to write himself, or he used to express his view on himself. That is the autobiography. So here the Nelson Mandela, he written his biography, that is considered it as a autobiography. So now we can move on the lesson. This lesson is focused on South Africa. After so many years, Nelson Mandela was in a party of ANC, African National Congress. He elected. He stood and he elected for the post of the president. So before moving to the lesson, we can think about that Nelson Mandela becomes South Africa's first black president. Nelson Mandela has become South Africa's first black president after more than 3 centuries of white rule. Mr. Mandela's African National Congress ANC party won 252 of the 400 seats in the first democratic elections of South Africa's history. The inauguration ceremony took place in the Union Buildings amphitheatre in Pretoria today. Amphitheater, it means the open air theater, attended by politicians and dignitaries from more than 140 countries around the world. Never, never again will this beautiful and experience the oppression of one by another, said Nelson Mandela in this address. Jubilant scenes on the streets of Pretoria followed the ceremony with blacks, whites, and colored celebrating together. More than a lakh South African men, women, and children of all races sang, danced with joy. This paragraph it tells about that how this Mandela's first presidency inauguration ceremony. He called all the people of South Africa, white and the black, and the men and the women and the children. They attended. They were the eyewitness of that first black presidency inauguration. So now we can move the lesson. 10th May dawned bright and clear for the first few days. I had been pleasantly beset by dignitaries and world leaders who were coming to pay their respects before their inauguration. The inauguration would be the largest gathering ever of international leaders on South African soil. Beside by, to be surrounded by 10th May 10th 5 1994, the first black president of South Africa, he was ready to take an oath on that day. It was bright and clear. Dawned. Dawned it means here. Dawned it means here bright and clear. For the first few days before the election, he was in a prison. He was as a prisoner, as well as he fought against for the freedom and all this. Now, before a day, it means a few days before when he elected for this presidency. Pleasantly, he was completely surrounded closely by the dignitaries. Some more dignitaries I surrounded with them, as well as the world leaders who are coming to pay their respects. The world leaders, as well as the world leaders, they gathered in this inauguration program. The ceremonies took place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater found by the Union Buildings in Pretoria. For decades, this had been the seat of white supremacy, and now it was the site of a rainbow gathering of different colors and nations for the installation of South Africa's first democratic non racial government. Before that, a decade, this ceremony, these formalities took a place. Where it took a place? It took a place in the lovely sandstone amphitheater. Amphitheater, it means open air theater. Doesn't the building without a roof with many rows of seats rising in steps. Mm, just like what we can say, just like a stadium. Amphitheater found by the Union Buildings of Pretoria. The place was Pretoria. For decades, decades it means a group of 10 years, a term of 10 years. That had been the seat of white supremacy. On those days, the white people, they only used this amphitheater. For now, it was filled with a rainbow color. Rainbow, it has seven colors. The same way, the gathering of different colors: white, black, some more colored people. It shows about that all the people from the world they gathered in this amphitheater. For which purpose? For installation of South Africa's first democratic non-racial government. On that lovely autumn day, I was accompanied by my daughter Zinani. On the podium, Mr. De Klerk was first sworn in as second deputy president. On that lovely autumn day, 10th May, how it would be autumn? Why? Because you know about that the South Africa lies in southern hemisphere. Here we are calling the May as a summer season, but in those countries which lies in the southern hemisphere, for them autumn season before the winter. The southern hemisphere is completely opposite of northern hemisphere. We are all in northern hemisphere. So that day was a autumn day. He was accompanied with his uh, daughter, that is Jinani, as well as Mr. De Klerk was the first sworn in as second deputy president. He was a junior in a rank. The sworn it means sworn means take oath. He is ready to be with this Nelson Mandela. When uh, Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as first deputy president, when it was my turn, I pledged to obey and uphold the constitution and to devote myself to the well-being of the republic and its people. To the assembled guests and the watching world, I said, today all of us do by our presence here confer glory and hope to newborn liberty. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long, must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. Thabo Mbeki Mbeki was sworn in as a first deputy president. He has already taken a oath. First, Thabo Mbeki, he taken oath. Then his turn, and he started to pledge to take oath to obey, uphold the constitution. He is ready to uphold the constitution and to devote himself to the well-being of republic and its people. Is addressing with the oath to the assembled guests in the watching world. The whole world is watching this black president Nelson Mandela. He said, today all of us do by our presence here. You people, everyone is here. Confer glory. Glory means here the victory. It's a victory and hope newborn liberty. And I thought that this is a victory, and I thought that it is a newborn liberty. What do you mean by liberty? Liberty, it means freedom. Out of the experience of an extraordinary human disaster that lasted too long, must be born a society of which all humanity will be proud. I don't know whether I'm born on that time. I thought that I would become a president of this South Africa. But now I became a president of South Africa as well as extraordinary humanity it is also stood in front of you. I'm ready to show my humanity. I'm ready to share my humanity with all the people who were outlaws not so long ago, have today been given the rare privilege to be host to the nations of the world on our own soil. We thank all of our distinguished international guests for having come to take possession with the people of our country of what is, after all, a common victory for justice, for peace, for human dignity. We who were outlaws here, outlaws, it means some because of it is a policy of apartheid. Apartheid, I told, many countries had earlier broken off the diplomatic relations with the South Africa. Some countries they cut off their relations with the South Africa because of racial discrimination. But today, the whole world honored as a guest, international guest, as well as they have taken a participation in this inaugural function. So his words, Nelson Mandela's words, are very impressive on that time. For which, for all, these are all the eyewitness. After all, a common victory. This is a trump of surgery, just like a trump for justice, for peace, for human dignity. So these are all the eyewitness. 27 years I spent my life in this as a prisoner. Now we got a freedom, not only me, we whole South African people, we got a freedom. This opportunity it shows about that the victory of for justice, for peace, for human dignity. We have at last achieved our political emancipation. Emancipation it means freedom from restriction. We pledged ourselves to liberate all our people from the continuing bondage of poverty, deprivation, suffering, gender, and other discrimination. Today onwards, we are free from all the restriction. All the restriction, it means one is related to the racials, and the second is the poverty and the deprivation and suffering from the gender discrimination and other discrimination. These would be abolished today itself. Never, never, and never again shall it be that is a beautiful and will again experience the oppression of one by another. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. Let freedom region. God bless Africa. Never, never, ever again shall it would be. It should not be repeated any time. This is the beautiful land. It has a experience of the oppressor of one by another. Oppressor, oppression. Oppression means here to treat harshly. Each people, each black people harshly treated by the white people, as well as these people, the black people are the discriminated by the white people. But today onwards, this should not be happen in any way. This is my promise. The sun shall never set on so glorious a human achievement. That freedom region. God bless Africa. Today onwards, the freedom will rule whole South Africa. The God is always with the South Africa. Finally, He said that this South Africa will be today onwards, it will be free from all these depressions, all these deprivations, all these suffering, all these poverty and the discriminations. A few moments later, we will lifted our eyes in awe as a spectacular array of South African jets, helicopters, and the troop carriers rode in perfect formation over the Union buildings. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision and military force, but a demonstration of the military loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. The next, how was the inaugural function? He explained. After oath taking, a few minutes later, we all lifted our eyes. We, uh, our mind is thinking about that, what it may happen in the sky. In that, the African jets, helicopters, and the troop carriers roared in a perfect formation over the Union buildings. Over the Union buildings, over the Senate Hall, it started to roar itself. In which way? It is ready to show its formation. Array, it means a formation. It was not only a display of pinpoint precision. Precision, it means a accuracy. Spectacular array, it means an impressive display, a colorful and a attractive display on the sky above the Union buildings. And the military force out to demonstration of the military's loyalty to democracy, to a new government that had been freely and fairly elected. Only moments before, the highest generals of South African Defence Force and Police, their chests bedecked with ribbons and medals from days gone by, saluted me and pledged their loyalty. I was not unmindful of the fact that not so many years before they would not have saluted but arrested me. Finally, a chevron of Impala jets left a smoke trail of black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new Southern South African flag. So while he is explaining this paragraph, he once he recalled how the police people and the military people they arrested him. Before that, before electing, before one the presidency, on that time, these people, these military people, they would not have to salute, but they arrested me. But now these people they saluted me and pledged their loyalty. And pledged it means they are ready to show their promise of their loyalty. Before that, they arrested me, but now they are showing their respect because I elected and I achieved my life. So how they finally the chevron impact. Chevron it means a pattern of a V shape. Pattern of it means a zigzag pattern. The jet airways they showed their loyalty through this chevron, and then Just left a smoke trail of the black. How many colors are there? The black, red, green, blue, and gold color smoke I have seen. By all these, they are showing their loyalty, their skills, as well as their uh, pledged loyalty. They are ready to honor me like this. The day was symbolized for me by the playing of our two national anthems and the vision of fights, singing Kosi Sikelel e Africa and black singing Die Stem, the old anthem of Republic. Although the day neither group knew the lyrics of the anthem they once despised, they would soon know the words by heart. Yes, the black people, before that, the black people and the white people, they both they thought about that as well as they practiced the different anthem, national anthem. We have a national anthem that's a Janaganaman. But in South Africa, before 1994, these people, black people, they used to sing Nkosi Sikelel e Africa. This is the white peoples, they started to sing, and the blacks, because they have a bifurcation as well as the discrimination between these two people, the black people, they start to sing Die Stem. So these two national anthems were different in one country, but after 1994 both they started to sing both. So till also they continued, but some people they hated that, despised it means had a very low opinion. We are not ready to adjust on this, we are ready to follow our own. That's the mm, despised. So this some persons they are not ready to sing. Later they by hearted. One day of the inauguration, I was overwhelmed. Overwhelmed it means overjoyed. Overwhelmed it means overjoyed with a sense of history. In the first decade of the 20th century, a few years after the bitter Anglo Boer was and before my own birth, the white skinned peoples of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark skinned peoples of their own land. On the day of the inauguration, I was very overjoyed with the sense of history. Sense of history is related to my previous ways how I spent. In the first decade of the 20th century, in the first decade of 20th century, it means 1910. A few years after the bitter Anglo-Boer was before my own birth. Anglo-Boer. Anglo it means here the white people. The Boer it means here the South Africa. English and South African people. Both they started to fight the war. Before my birth, white people and the black people both they started to fight each other. Then the white skinned people of South Africa patched up their differences and erected a system of racial domination against the dark skinned peoples of their own land. The South Africa, later the South Africa, it was ruled by the white skinned people. White skinned people, it means the English people. They started to dominate against the dark skinned. Dark skinned, it means the South African people. The structure they created formed the basis of one of the harshest, most inhuman societies the world has ever known. how the people they started to um, structure themselves. The structure of created the form the basis of one harshest. Harshest it means most unpleasant and then most inhuman, not a sustainable for the human beings. And then societies the world has ever known. The society, the inhumanity in the society, the South Africa, it filled with the inhumanity society because of this English people. Now in the last decade of the 20th century, now in the last decade of the 20th century, last decade of 20th century, it means 1990 to 2000, and my own eighth decade as a man. Now I'm in 80 years old. Eighth decade it means 80 years. 80 years as a man. That system has been overturned forever and replaced by one that recognized the rights and freedoms of all peoples, regardless of the color of their skin. Overturned. Overturned, it means here toppled over. Toppled over forever and replaced by one that recognized the right and freedoms of all peoples, regardless of the color of their skin. Irrespectively, irrespectively, the black people they lost their freedoms and their rights and all the things it has taken by the white people. So that previously I told that the black people they surrendered themselves for this to this white people because of the ruling of this white people. That day I had come about through the unimaginable sacrifices of thousands of my people, people whose suffering and courage can never be counted or repaid. I felt that day, as I have on so many other days, that I was simply the sum of all those African yes, simply the sum of all those African patriots who had gone before me. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me. I was pained that I was not able to thank them, that they were not able to see what their sacrifices had wrought. Wrought means here achieved. Wrought it means here achieved. Yes, the people, those who were with me, some people from the beginning to till today or the previous day, the people, those who were with me, those they struggled their life for the sake of the freedom. It's they were considered about that African patriots who had gone before me. That long and noble line ended and now began again with me. So now began again with me. It shows about that this day, this inaugural day, is a eyewitness for our freedom, for our sacrifice. These people, some more people, they struggled themselves, they spent their life with with for the sake of the freedom. All these people, they are not here, even though I thought that the sacrifices had achieved. They are sacrificed themselves for the sake of the freedom. The policy of apartheid created a deep and a lasting wound in my country and my people. All of us will spend many years, if not generations, recovering from that profound hurt. But the decades of oppression and brutality had another unintended effect, and that was that it produced the Oliver Thambos, the Walter Sisoulis, the Chief Luthulis, the Yusuf Daduds, the the Bram Fisher, the Robert Subcos of our time, men of such extraordinary. Here he told that these people, these people are all very precious for him because these people they spent their time with Nelson Mandela and they showed their courage, wisdom, and the generosity. So now known and they gain our freedom. Courage, wisdom, and generosity that their life may never be known again. Once again, we should not get this type of the people. We get it as well as their sacrifice. It may help us to gain freedom. Perhaps it requires such depths of oppression to create such heights of character. My country is rich in the minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil, but I have always known that its greatest wealth is its people, finer and truer than the purest diamonds. Here we all know about that South Africa is very famous for the raw diamonds. So here he told that my country, my South Africa, is rich in minerals and gems that lie beneath its soil. But we have always known that its greatest wealth is its people. Previous page we have already seen these are all the precious people. These are all the precious people we have seen this. These are all just like a gems. These are all just like a diamonds. So these finer and truer than the purest diamond. These people, the South Africa had these type of courage and the wisdom and the generosity and the skill-based skilled people. This is the purest diamond, more than the purest diamond. More, this is the asset for, or these people are the asset for this South Africa. It is from these comrades in the struggle that I learned the meaning of courage. Time and again, I have seen men and women risk and give their lives for an idea. I have seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking, showing a strength and resilience that defies the imagination. I own that courage was not absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. It is a form of these comrades in the struggle. Comrades, it means the here the friends, associate. It is not done by only one person. It's with the group of the people. We have, if we need a freedom from any other, we should have to put a struggle that is also associated with other people. That I learned meaning of courage. What do you mean by courage? In the sense of this Nelson Mandela, the Nelson Mandela's thinking is the courage. If we fought against with the comrades, with the friend association with the friends, then we can gain the freedom through the courage. If we join each other, if we are ready to do the work with each other, then our skill, the skill of the courage, it is ready to show itself. Here he told that time and again. The time is ready to show that the women are ready to take a risk. The children also they are ready to take a risk, and they given their lives for an idea. They sacrifice their life. So I seen men stand up to attacks and torture without breaking. The men and the women and the people of this South Africa, they didn't take back of their decision. They are ready to fight for the freedom. They are ready to abolish this discrimination, apartheid. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid. The person who is ready to show the courage, who is have a braveness skill, he is not ready to afraid for anything, but who conquers that fear. We people also. We peoples also should have to, if we conquer the fear, then the courage automatically it is ready to start its work. No one is born hating another person because of the color of his skin or his background or his religion. People must learn to hate. If they can learn to hate, they can be taught to love. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. Even in the grimmest times in prison, when my comrades and I were pushed to our limits, I would see a glimmer of humanity in one of the guards, perhaps just for a second, but it was enough to reassure me to keep me going. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. No person is born by hating. By birth, we people are not bad skilled, or we are not ready to show our what we have a hidden talent with ourselves. By born, the people are the good, but no one is born or no one is ready to show their hatredness through the skin color or through the background of the person or his religion. The people they are ready to learn the hate, and they can learn to hate, they can taught to love. The person those who are ready to show the hateness, or how they are ready to learn the hatredness, for that person he also know about that the love, he should be taught of love and the taught to the love for the other person, because the hatredness and the love both are the feelings in human beings. For love comes more naturally to the human heart than its opposite. If the person is not ready to show the cruelty, then automatically the love it is ready to show off itself. If he is not showing his insight, what he has with himself, then automatically he is ready to show his cruelty through the hatredness. This is the human being's nature, naturally to the human heart than its opposite. The one is said to do the positive, and one more is said to do the negative. Here, the hatredness is a negative, and the love is a positive. Even the grimmest times in a prison, when my comrades were pushed to our limits. Or pushed to our limits, it means the push to the last point in our ability to bear the pain. We people, I was with comrades at as a prison, and then on that time, if we uh, point the push to the last point in our ability to bear the pain. Bear means here to tolerate the pain. Just a second, it was enough to reassure me and keep me going. Only the thing the humanity and the bearing capacity of the pain it makes, and it keep me to reassure and to keep me to going on regarding the freedom fight. Man's goodness is a flame that can be hidden but never extinguished. Extinguished, it means dying out of flame. The man's goodness, the person's goodness is a flame. He is considering the person's goodness as a flame, giving a metaphor for this, and then personified the flame with the goodness and can be hidden, never extinguished. It should not be dying out of flame. He has to show his goodness throughout the world. In life, every man has twin obligations. The obligations are obligation, it means moral binding. Obligations, it means a moral binding. What are they? The two obligations, one is to his family, to his parents, to his wife, and the children. And he has an obligation to his people, his community, his country. One is related to the one is related to family. Okay. The second one is related to country. So these two are the obligation, moral binding. In a civil and human society, each man is able to fulfill those obligations according to his own inclinations. Inclinations, it means natural tendencies of behavior and ability. According to the civil and human society, each man is able to fulfill the uh, obligations. It is based on the behavior of the person and the ability of the person. But in a country like South Africa, it was almost impossible for a man of my birth and color to fulfill both these obligations. Yeah, some people they are ready to follow the obligations as for the first one is related to the family and the second one is related to the country. But being a South African, it was very difficult for me to and impossible for me to bear this or the follow these obligations. In South Africa, a man of color who attempted to live as a human being was punished and isolated. On those days, before 1994, the South Africa, the white people they ruled. On that time, a black color person, he should not live just like as a human being. If he is ready to or attempted to live as a human being, he should be punished and isolated. Isolated, it means alone. He should kept himself alone from this claim. In South Africa, a man who tried to fulfill his duty to his people was inevitably ripped from his family and his home and was forced to live a life apart. A twilight existence of secrecy and a rebellion. Inevitability, it means unavoidable. If the person is ready to fulfill his duty regarding the country, on that time it was unavoidable, ripped from his away from his family and his home, and he was forced to live a life apart. Twilight existence of secrecy and rebellion. They are ready to show that he was a rebellion, as well as he should not be with the family. He should be in a isolated. I did not, in the beginning, choose to place my people above my family. But in attempting to serve my people, I found that I was prevented from fulfilling my obligations as a son, a brother, and a father, and a husband. Previously, I was thought about that I have to surround myself with the family. Later, I thought about that. It means Nelson Mandela, he thought about that. I should be for the country. I was not born with hunger to be free. He is explaining about his childhood days. I was not born with a hunger to be free. Hunger to be free, it means I was an able person. I was born free, free in every way that I could know. Free to run in the fields near my mother's hut. Free to swim in the clear stream that ran through my village. Free to roast mealies under the stars and ride the broad backs of slowing moving bulls. As long as I obeyed my father and abided by the customs of my tribe, I was not troubled by the loss of man or God. This is the explanation which is related to the childhood days. He was never restricted by anything. He was playing near his mother's hut, as well as he was very free to swim in the clear stream through the village, because that area is completely filled with the black people. It was only when I began to learn that my boyhood freedom was an illusion. Illusion, it means something that appears to be real, but it is not. When he was inside or when he was with the black people, on that time he felt that, yeah, I was a free person. When his boyhood alive, it means when he grown up, on that time he thought that freedom was an illusion. When I discovered as a young man that my freedom had already been taken from me. Yeah, you people know about that. If the baby start to grown up, on that time the parents they are ready to um, say something that is we are thinking about that the parents are take off our freedom. We will also feel like this, we will also lose the freedom, because the parents they suggested you people or us to do the work what you have with you, should not think about anything. But the people we are thinking about that we have to high fly. The sky is very high. We are ready to reach that. For that, we are thinking about that. The parents are ready to mm, chase our freedom. So already it has taken from me that I began to hunger for it, the freedom. Then I realized that the freedom it was taken by the white people. I wanted freedom only for myself. The transitory freedoms of being able to stay out at night, read what I pleased, and go where I chose. Later, as a young man in Johannesburg, Johannesburg is a city, I earned for basic and honorable freedoms of achieving my potential, of earning my keep, of marrying and having a family, the freedom not to be obstructed in a lawful life. Before that, I thought that I have to get a freedom. But later, Nelson Mandela, he thought that I have to give much more importance to the country. But I slowly saw that not only was I not free, but my brothers and the sisters were not free. First, he thought that I should be free. I should be free from all this. I have to get a freedom. So, but when he thought, and he slowly grown up, on that time he thought that yes, all my sisters and the brothers they are not free. They should have to free. He's thinking broadly. Then it was not just my freedom that was curtailed. Curtailed it means reduced or cut short. But the freedom of everyone who looked like I did. That is when I joined the African National Congress, and that is when the hunger for my own freedom became the greater hunger for the freedom of my people. It was this desire for the freedom of my people to live their lives with dignity and self respect that animated my life. They transformed a frightened young man into a bold one. They drove a law abiding attorney to become criminal. They turned a family loving husband into a man without home. That forced a life loving man to live like a monk. So previously, I thought that I should get a freedom. Later, I thought about that my parents, my sisters, and my brother, they should have to get a freedom. When I entered to this country, when I went everywhere on that time, I thought that, and I get the knowledge about the white people. They dominated the black people, so that I have the Nelson Mandela. He thought that I have to get a freedom for to my country by these white people, so that he started to fight against on that. So how it means my people to live their lives with a dignity and self-respect that animated my life. The black people, they are not ready to lose their self-respect, but the white people, they are ready to discriminate and the dominate. On that time, that frightened, before that, the frightened young man, but now a bold one person that drove a law abiding attorney to become a criminal. A criminal person. I was a very loving and a caring person in my home, but now I became a very criminal person. That made me turned away family loving husband. I was a loving husband by my wife, but a man without a home. My parents, they also neglected, as well as they also neglect me, and my family members also neglect me, as well as they forced a life living loving man to live like a monk. I lost everything. I was living just like a monk. The monk, the people, those uh, they, if they have a home, or even though they are not ready to go there, they are ready to sacrifice their life for the society that is considered as a monk. I'm not more virtuous or self-sacrificing than the next man, but I found that I could not even enjoy the poor and limited freedoms I was allowed. When I knew my people were not free, freedom is indivisible. The chains on any one of my people were the chains on all of them. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. Um, the freedom which begins, the freedom fighting which begins, how it begins. How it begins, it means um, I surrounded with some other people, and I joined the people and young people. We started to fight for the freedom one by one, just like a chain, how it is ready to strong with itself by its law. The same way here also, the chains of any one of my people were chains on all of them. Each people, we started to get a freedom by the white people. The chains on all of my people were the chains on me. The each and every people, we had a plan regarding to get the freedom. The same mentality people, we people started to fight freedom, just like we are not ready to break the chain. The how the chain is ready to strong with the with its love, the same way we people are so strong with our desire. I knew that the oppressor must be liberated just as surely as the oppressed. Here, the oppressor is white people, oppressor is a white people, oppressed is a black people. Those who are ready to dominate is considered as oppressor. Those who are already dominated by the people, that is related to oppressed. A man who takes away another man's freedom is a prisoner of hatred. He is locked behind the bars of prejudice and narrow mindedness. I'm not truly free. I'm taking away someone else's freedom, just as surely as I'm not free when my freedom is taken from me. The oppressed and the oppressor alike are robbed of their humanity. So I'm not truly, on that time, I'm not truly free because the oppressors, the white peoples, they are just be liberated just surely as the oppressed. They are ready to, they are not ready to liberate us. They are ready to give a punishment. Just like I thought that this is the oppressed. Oppressed are the black people, oppressors are the white people. A man who takes away another man's freedom. The person is ready to take away one man's freedom, who 100% he will go to the hell. His mind is thinking like that. The prison and hatred is locked behind the bars and prejudice and narrow mindedness. If the person is said to take the freedom from one any other person, then really he would be disliked by the other persons, as well as if he has some more good reasons and all this, even though he would be disliked by the other persons. So I'm not truly free if I'm taking away someone else's freedom. Yes, now I'm telling all these things because I'm not ready to take anyone's freedom. The oppressed and the oppressors alike are robbed of their humanity. The humanity which has been already taken away by this oppressor, the oppressed also on those time they also behave just like inhumanity people. But now 10th May 1994. Today onwards, we people are very happy because of we are ready to show, we are ready to gain, we are ready to build up our humanity in this area. So by listening this, we people thinking about that, why we have to learn this autobiography, a piece of autobiography of Nelson Mandela. Is it necessary for us? Yes, being a teenage person, we have to learn more and more what we have a potentiality with ourselves, what we have a strength with ourselves. Then how can we make it alive? This is a real model of the teenage people, and this is the inspirational story of Nelson Mandela. The Nelson Mandela was a South African first black president who showed us the what is the potential it is with himself, the same way we people also have with ourselves. The message of this lesson is we should have to be aware about our potentiality. Thank you.